Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad you're watching. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Mtembei TV Open Forum Political Discussion Show, a show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, it is now official. The Kenya Kwanza government has named their cabinet and assigned different permanent secretaries in different dockets. And therefore, we can conclusively tell what kind of face it paints and shows the rest of Kenyans of whether we are having a Kenyan government or a two-region government that has others as cosmetics or as garnishers. Well, we will talk about the same. Central Kenya and Rift Valley takes the land share in the cabinet. The rest of Kenya is left out in the cold. Is this the Kenya we struggle for? Is the Kenya we've been fighting to establish and be part of? Left for me, I'm a very sad Kenyan when I see this kind of appointments and assignments. When will Kenya be really Kenya for all Kenyans? And what will it take for us to have a Kenya where every Kenyan is viewed as a Kenyan and can serve in any capacity in the government without us having to drag in the monster of tribalism and nepotism and all manner of feeling secure because I'm surrounded by the people from my backyard. When will we have Kenya for all Kenyans? Is what we will be looking at even as we start out our conversation. I invite everybody to be on board. If you're able to get us, please invite 1, 2, 3, 4 people to join into the discourse. This ought to be something that we need to weigh on the same so that nobody's left wondering. But I think we've been this for too long. It's about time we moved as a country and got to a place where we are secure, whether who is who where. Why must we turn the country dockets and position of service into a place of where we reward our funds to probably secure the people from our backyard? Let's get talking as we start out the conversation. The link to use to get in the studio is in the comment section. All you need to do is click on it. Allow StreamYard to configure for you the camera as well as the audio, and you will be in this space for us to get talking. Once again, we are not able to stream on Facebook until further notice. So all of us who follow Bay TV on Facebook, please do so on YouTube and LinkedIn and then Twitter if you want to get the broadcast live, especially of this specific show. The other Facebook items are still being sorted. When it is done, we will let you know. In the meantime, if you want to get to be part of this, please make sure that you are following either on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. And YouTube is where we will be longest. And so I would advise everybody to subscribe and follow the broadcast right from YouTube, because when every other platform falls out, YouTube will remain. And so the conversation will continue longer on YouTube than any other particular platform. And so make sure that you are following from YouTube to get the whole gist of all the story. Well, we are looking at Rift Valley and Central shamelessly takes the lion's share in the cabinet, from the permanent secretaries to what are they called, cabinet secretaries. We have permanent secretaries and all other shared seats in the Kenya Kwanza government. We don't see the face of Kenya, and we would love to see what you feel and think about the same, even as we dive into this particular conversation. I know it's emotive, and probably it may not be taken well by supporters, but I think it's about time we confronted the monster that faces our world and be able to face out whatever it is that ails us. Okay. Now, from the conversation I have so far, okay, let me see. I need to get the right episode. Where is this? Okay, one moment. Tuendelee karibishana tafadhali. Show ndio hiyo imeanza. Mazungumzo lazima yawepo na ni lazima tujadiliane kama Wakenya, tuambiane ukweli, tuambiane ukweli. Hii maneno ya kudanganyana, muda wa kudanganyana umeisha. Tafadhali tujue kwamba kama hii Kenya ni ya Kenya kwa kila Mkenya, ama kuna Wakenya wengine ambao ni Wakenya kuliko Wakenya wengine, ili tuelewe kwamba tuko na nchi inaitwa Kenya ambayo inaweza tawaliwa na mtu yeyote, ama hii nchi ni ya sehemu fulani ama kabila fulani. Sisi wengine ni squatters, na lazima tukubali kutawaliwa na tukubali kunyamaza wakati hao wengine wanaendeleza mambo yao wakitumia nchi ambayo inapaswa kuwa nchi yetu. Hili ni suala ambalo lazima tuambiane ukweli, kwa sababu hatuwezi vumilia wakati tunafinywa. Okay? Kama serikali ni ya Kenya, iwe ya Kenya. Kama serikali ni ya wachache, basi iwe ya wachache, na tukubali kwamba ni ya wachache, na wengine wetu sisi ni squatters, wageni ama wasiostahili kuwa na nini, kuwa na nafasi ya uongozi kwa vyovyote vile. When we have accepted that, and then it will be easy for us to manage. And just to paint the picture of what we are faced with right now, this is the summary of it all. Regional and tribal composition of nominated principal secretaries. Okay, we have 13 from the Kalenjin community, we have 13 from the Kuyu community, 6 from the Luya community, 4 from the Kamba community, 8 from the Somali community. Then we have the rest, which is the Coast has one. There's the Garis has one, and Turkana one, and the other part of Kenya has one. So our question tonight is, why should it be obvious that this government and this particular leadership is a regional leadership? Okay, regional leadership, that a particular region or the two regions have the lion's share of everything, to an extent whereby you have a whole region that has only one person, when two regions has 26 slots. Okay, 26 slots, and then the rest is left shared by the majority of Kenyan. Is this how the face of Kenya looks? And then of course their names out there. If I mention your name or I mention the name of your village mate, don't stone me. I just reporting what I've seen and what has been shared. We have Dr. Bilio Kipsang, State Department for Basic Education. We have Festus Ngeno, State Department for Environment. We have Dr. Paul Rono, State Department for Water and Sanitation. We have Henry Kimtai, State Department for Livestock and Development. Engineer Peter Tam Tum, State Department for Medical Services. We have Ambassador Professor Julius Bitok, State Department for Citizen Services. And then we have Dr. Chris Kipto, the National Treasury. And then we have Nixon Korir, State Department for Lands and Physical Planning. Julius Korir, State Department for Cabinet Affairs. Then we have Aurelia Rono, State Department for Parliament Affairs. Well, that's how it sounds, and I don't know how you take it, but I would love us to look at it keenly and be able to tell each other the truth other than pretend. Do we have two classes in this country? Do we have the ruling class and the ruled class? Do we have regions that have more elites than others? And so those regions are the only ones that have can provide brains that can start this country into higher heights? Or why is it a clear cut that two regions gets the lion's share and the rest can share the tails and the hoofs and the legs that are left of the animal that you know has been slaughtered. Well, tuambiane ukweli kama Wakenya. Nashukuru kila mmoja, karibu. Naomba tuanze mjadala wa leo. Wale ambao mngependa kujiunga katika studio, tafadhali karibuni. Tunapoambiana ukweli. The link to use is in the comment section. All you need to do, click on it, allow StreamYard to configure for you the camera as well as audio. Alafu njoo hapa tusemezane, njoo hapa tuambiane ukweli. Hii injini yetu sote ama hii injini ya wachache, alafu sisi wengine wageni tujipange. Kama ni sisi ni foreigners or we are not genuine Kenyans, tujipange, tutafute passport ya kule ambako tumetoka, ili tujue kwamba sisi ni wageni hapa na hatuna nafasi katika uongozi. Bona sehemu mbili za nchi ndizo zinafanya nini? Zinachukua kila kitu, alafu wengine tunaachwa hapo tukiangalia kwa nje. Hii ndio jinsi ya kuongoza nchi, hii ndio jinsi ya kufanya nchi iendelee. Tumefanya hii kuanzia independence. Tuko sasa karibu miaka 60 ya uhuru, lakini bado maendeleo haya yanaonekana kuwa sehemu fulani, na sehemu fulani zinaachwa pweke, sehemu fulani zinaachwa bila maendeleo. Sasa tumeona katika serikali hii uchaguzi ama uteuzi wa wale ambao wanawajibika katika uongozi wametoka sehemu mbili tu. Sehemu mbili ambazo zina kisiasa, inaonekana kwamba hizo ndizo zilichagua rais, na kwa hivyo kwa sababu rais ni wao na deputy president ni wao, kwa hivyo lazima wakule. Wakishaliza kula ndio Wakenya wengine wapate mabakshishi. Hii ndi jinsi ya kuongoza nchi ama kuna upungufu fulani, na huo upungufu utashughuliwa vipi? Kwa sababu mimi sioni sababu ya kuendelea kuishi katika uongo na kujidanganya kwamba kuna nchi inaitwa Kenya, ile hali hii nchi imetekwa nyara na sehemu mbili ambayo inataka kutawala wengine kwa vyovyote vile, wapende wasipende. Sasa sijui kama wewe uko hapo na uko tayari kutawaliwa upende usipende, ama uko tayari kuinua sauti yako na kusema hii haifai. It is not acceptable to have this kind of appointments where in a new Kenya, where every Kenyan is an elite, and we have professors from every corner of this country. We cannot have a country led by people from a specific region and taking the lion's share of everything in the cabinet, and then later on tunaambiwa tingiza, wewe ni Mkenya, jivunie kuwa Mkenya. Hii si mimi, kwangu hii haifai. Na hivyo kama mnataka kuongea ukweli, njooni. Kama mnataka kudanganyana, basi shauri yenu. Lakini ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba this is disheartening, it is sad, is unacceptable, is backward. I reject it. Nashukuru wote ambao mnajiunga nasi, karibuni wote. Leo ni leo, lazima tuambiane ukweli. Mimi nataka Kenya ya kila Mkenya. Mimi nataka Kenya ya watu wangu watakuwa na ruhusa ya kuishi mahali popote, wakiwa na uwezo wa kuwa Wakenya, kutekeleza majukumu yao kama Wakenya. Lakini kama watoto wangu na jamii yangu sisi ni second class, hatuwezi kuwa katika utawala, hatuwezi fikia katika utawala, tuambiwe mapema tufungashe tuende kwetu. Tuende kwetu, ama tugawe nchi, si tuende kwetu tujitawale, kwa sababu hakuna haja. Sisi tunatoa tax kama kila Mkenya, tunalipa tax kama kila Mkenya, tunashughulika kila asubuhi kama kila Mkenya, lakini ikifika nani atasimamia pesa, nani atasimamia kugawa rasilimali, nani atasimamia usalama, nani atasimamia mashamba, nani atasimamia hiyo inasema ya sehemu fulani. Sisi wengine tuwe flower girls. I don't see us doing the right thing. And if you are a Kenya of goodwill, I think it's about time you raised your voice and we talked this keenly. Thank you very much. I want to salute 1, 2, 3, 4 people before we get into the people in the channel. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Chaga. Thank you, Bernard, my namesake. Asante sana. Kuna Dahi Abi, karibu sana. Kitonga, karibu sana. Miriam Kache, karibu. Kuna Fatma Abdullahi Muhammad, karibu sana. Ben Musafu, karibu sana. Nani huyu mwingine? JVMM, no need to pay taxes with this kind of discrimination. Aha, I agree with you. Kama Kenya ya Kenya wote tubebe mzigo wote, lakini sasa tutabeba mzigo wakati huu mzigo uko na asali ndani, huu mzigo uko na nyama ndani, lakini kuna wale wakula asali, kuna wale wakula nyama. Sisi tunakula mabakshish. Mimi sioni Kenya ikiendelea hivi, na kama kuna mtu anafurahia Kenya kama hiyo, basi congratulations to him, but as far as I'm concerned, that Kenya belongs to the past and it must not be postponed one more day for it to move, for it to exist in the new Kenya. Yufi, karibu sana. Nani huyu mwingine? Joyce Ndei, karibu sana. If I mispronounce your name, begin by forgiving me. It is called mother tank. Huh? Okay, I don't know why it's not called father tank. I think Alex will explain for us. Why is mother always blamed for everything that goes wrong, and father praised for everything that goes right? Another debate we'll have maybe one of these fine days. Thank you very much. So taanza wapi? Naona Alex ako transit. Hebu tanguliza alafu ndio tulete chaga.
Bernard, yetu kuna huzuni mwingi, kila siku tunataka tusahau, lakini huyu jamaa analeta huzuni. Lakini Wakenya ni wavumilivu sana. Leo amenitumia text PK, so PK yule mmoja ananiambia wakati wa posta ilijaa wakale from MD to watu wa kuosha choo. Usiseme hatukuwaonya mapema, shauri yenu. Alafu jamaa mwingine akajibu, leo nimeona keep mimi, keep wewe na keep sisi. Hao ndio wanatutawala. Mwingine asema sasa tukifanyaje?
Wewe, keep sisi na keep nani?
Keep mimi, keep wewe, keep sisi. Wanatutawala. Mwingine akauliza sasa tukifanyaje? Mwingine akasema keep tulie. Mwingine akasema lakini hatukuona chepu wao na chepu yule. Chepu wameenda wapi? You can see a government that does not respect women. You can see the PS there. The 30% threshold was not carried out. People from the Kalenjin and you can understand, and I like how you put it. The State Department, they want to coalesce the state and make it. Ndio maana Gachagua alikuwa anasema you must rule like Moi. You see, according to the Constitution of Kenya, the most powerful person when anaandika check na anasign are the PSS. The cabinet is just almost like a ceremonial position. That's the honest part of it. And that's why Ada Koskei in the treasury alikuwa anasema the person that should be charged is the PS for treasury. Sasa unaona hata treasury ameweka watu wao. Umeona kila kitu mpaka lands ameweka Korir, the person they want the land that Uhuru put a monument there, ambayo of course hata amekataa isiendelee. Whatever that was done was stopped immediately, na amesema that should not be part of Kenya Memorial. They want to do away with it. So what I will tell Kenyans is this. After looking at how William Samoei Ruto started, what I will tell Kenya is this. Hajachukua mizizi bado na hajakuwa rais wa Kenya bado. Na sasa hivi is operating from the point of fear. And that's why still we have something called a little bit of freedom that hata hapa Mtembei we can be able to talk. If you allow this guy to be there in 2 years, achukue mizizi, where
Alex, you need to. I think you have a technical problem. Alex, iko shida kiasi. We are not getting you clearly.
Yeah,
because we don't want to miss the points.
No. Ninaenda kwenda kwa tunnel. I'm going to go to a tunnel. Let me speak after the next person. I'm going to go to a tunnel.
Okay, sawa. Thank you. Nashukuru Kenya, asante sana kwa kujumuika nasi katika kipindi cha leo. Tunaangazia cabinet ya Dr. William Ruto kama rais wa nchi. Imechaguliwa kutoka sehemu mbili ambao wamechukua kila kitu, alafu vitu vilivyobaki vikagawiwa the rest of Kenya. Hii ndio Kenya ya kusonga mbele ama Kenya ya kurudi nyuma? Tuambiane ukweli. Chaga, karibu. Vipi?
Dada Bena.
Niko poa. Vipi uko?
Okay. Bernard. Yeah. Ilikuwa ni kufumba tumsije but this was the exact waliaidiana na watu wa Central 50-50. Sasa wakaona hapo kwa kuchagua mawaziri, wacha tuwafumbe macho kidogo, then tukirudi kwa PSS tutafanya mambo yetu. Ni dhahiri shahiri kuwa Kenya itaendelea kuongozwa na kabla mbili. Nitanisamehe kama pengine itakuwa ni makosa labda kuzungumza hivyo, but that is the real fact. Kwa sababu hao walikuwa wanazungumziwa na Alex keep what 13 of them wametoka huko kwao na Central. So najiuliza swali, for how long tutakuwa tunavumilia namna hii as Kenyans? Ikiwa hatutakuwa na balance na kila mwananchi, kila Mkenya kuhusishwa mahali kama hapo, kuleta ule umoja ambao utahakikisha kwamba at least kila mtu atajivunia kuwa yeye yuko katika Kenya hii na ni mwana Kenya hata na ana haki. Huu mtindo huu usiofaa kamwe kabisa, kwa sababu it seems watu wamechaguana for their own benefit. Wewe kanyagia hapo, wakati nikija nikifanya hivi utakuwa kuna mtu wangu amesimama. Mtu akileta ng'oe kwa upande wa ardhi, wewe simamia hapo. Kwa fedha, wewe simamia hapo. Ni mipango gani iliyo ndani, mipango gani fiche iliyo ndani ya hii serikali? Kenya lazima tufunguke, lazima tusimame kwa sauti moja. Tusivumilie hii hali izidi zaidi ya hapo kabisa, kwa sababu so painful, inaumiza Bernard. Ina maana kabila zote za Kenya zote haziwezi kusimamia masuala kama hayo. Jamani, wow. Inaniuma sana kabisa Bernard. Sana tu. Si kwamba ni wivu, lakini tuondokane katika hizi hali za utawala. But we are now going back to where Moi used to do. Finally. Ndugu zangu wa Kenya, tusivumilie kuingizwa kwa shimo. Na tupongeze panapofaa kupongezwa. Tusiwe watu wa kupinga pahaba hapa. Lakini hii ni ishara wazi kwamba ni kitu kilikuwa kimepangika na tuwe tayari nacho, na ni serikali tutafanya nini? Tutadu nini? Serikali tunayo mikononi, kwa hivyo tufanye tutakalo. Hivyo nimpe tu nimpe mwenzangu nafasi achangie huku ndani, nikiungulika at least nikitafuta jinsi ya kurudi hapo, maana siona hata maneno yanaenda yakinishia. But for real sijapendezwa, na si kwamba sijapendezwa tu, sijapendezwa na jinsi ya selection ya kwamba ukabila especially kwa kabila mbili, wakati Kenya ni kubwa. Amefanya vibaya mno. Asante Bernard.
Thank you so much, Chaga, for that. And you are not alone in this. Kenya, all sane Kenyans are not happy. On maybe only the insane will be. All the same, there is what is it? Robert Malley say, Bernard, what happened to your show? Oh, sorry. Uh, escape from era to escape the era of error. We ran into a crisis. I think there was a blackout in the whole country. I don't know, for over 10 hours or something. So we were in the middle of the show, and power left, and so we tried to put up other mitigation. It couldn't work. So sorry for those follow our show. Uh, we will resume next week. Uh, or probably we may do it over the weekend. But poleni sana, ni story ya power na hatuelewi ni nini kinaendelea, kwa sababu we don't lose power for 10 hours. It's from around 11, power has come back almost 9 p.m. Okay, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Those are long hours of dead blackout. So, uh, Robert Mallet, that was the reason, but we promise next week it will work. Oh, we are looking for mitigation to. We were to set up a power backup system within the studio, but we didn't raise enough money to do that. Probably we'll come up with a solution soon. We don't advocate a generator, except it's a silent one. For studio to run well, we need silent power backup, which is available with the current technological advancement, but hiyo ni tutazungumzia baadaye. Kwa sasa hivi nashukuru sana. Then inasemekana tena jana usiku nilipoondoka kulikuwa na mushkili mahali katika show. Maswala mengine is just cyber attack. Okay, cyber attack. This show has been attacked in so many ways. So when something goes wrong, just keep in touch. We'll explain to you what happened, but nothing that is beyond our control in terms of staying on air. We will stay on air until we are not able to. If we are not able to, we'll tell you we are not able to because of 1, 2, 3, 4. What happened yesterday, I'm yet to get a full explanation, but the people who contacted me, I returned in the studio to check whether the show was going on, and I found it going on with Francis. Probably there was a hiccup that disrupted it. And when there is a disruption, just give it a few minutes or so. We will be back to proceed from where we left. But in the meantime, hey, Kenya must be for all Kenyans. If it's not for all Kenyans, Wakenya wengine wajipange. Bernard Wekesa, how are you today?
I'm fine, Papa. How are you?
I'm well. Karibu.
Chaka Mudune. Yes, mimi ninasikitika. Ninasikitika sana kwa sababu mambo yanayotendeka katika nchi hii ni kama sasa Kenya inageuka kuwa nyumba ya mtu binafsi ama nyumba ya watu fulani. And ninajua kitu kimoja ya kwamba being the leader of a whole nation is not easy, because you shoulder so much. Kuna a lot of expectations which you cannot meet alone. Lazima uwe na wengine, mchanganyiko hapa na pale. Lakini ukiangalia uchaguzi, appointments ambazo zimefanywa right from the CS to heads of committees in parliament, na sasa hii ya PSS leo, you see a very fearful boss. Huyu ni boss ambaye ana uoga mwingi, na ukiona mwanamume ambaye ako na uoga kwake, ukiona mtu ambaye ni mkubwa lakini ako na uoga kwake, he will end up rewarding those ones who know deep secrets, wicked schemes kukuhusu. And I think it points to one thing, ya kwamba all along, and we knew, wewe umekuwa ukisema mambo haya Bernard, na watu ambao ni stakeholders wa Mtembei TV, they have been saying these things, and I think it's the public domain huko nje. Everybody knows ya kwamba the means that were used for our president to be our executive leader zilikuwa crooked. We cannot prove, but at least we can, unaweza kuwa ujui vile unaweza kupeana evidence ya kitu, lakini unajua unaweza ona mtoto huyu afanani na baba ama afanani na mama, huwezi eleza, lakini at least unajua huyu mtoto si wa huyu mtu. Kwa hivyo huyu ni very fearful. Hizi appointments ambazo amefanya zinaonyesha ya kwamba he is a man under siege, ni mtu ambaye ako na uoga, na uoga huu utaendelea kwa sababu kuna watu kama Malala, we don't see them anywhere. Yule jamaa wa Coast, yule ambaye alikuwa anawania ugavana, Omar, sijui kama umeona mahali, I have not seen him anywhere. So there is still more. Mtaona mambo mengi sana ambayo yanaenda kutendeka, and when you are under fear, unachagua watu kuwaleta ndani ya uongozi ambao hawana skills, hawana merit. Those same people are the ones who are going to underperform. Na sasa in a very short time ataanza kuwafuta. He will begin to sack, he will begin to replace, he will begin to do lateral moves. Huyu ni mtu ambaye anaenda kuwa na a lot of infighting. Sikudanganyi, atakuwa na shida nyingi sana. Secondly, I want to say that Kenyans, sijui kwa nini saa zingine tunakuanga vile tunakuwa, they are not very good at punishing people like our president when he does such wrongs. They are not very good at punishing. Ama labda we punish, but then kiboko yetu haingii sana, kwa sababu kuna wale ambao walikuwa wamesema tuwapunish tumtoe, lakini some 3 or 4 or 2 organs wakamweka pale, so tunakuwa hatuna nguvu ya kupunish. Secondly, Bernard, I see a government that is staring at the same problems which they used to get into power, and they gave us a false hope. Wakasema, wakaambia fans wao ya kwamba hii unga itateremka. They used it as a bait, waliitumia kama bait kudanganya watu, lakini hizi shida zimekataa kutoka, and the same objects ambazo walikuwa wanazitumia as points of contact to blame, ndio watu wapate ushawishi wa kuwapigia kura Uhuru and Raila, they are still there, lakini hawa wameshindwa kutoa hizo shida. Kwa hivyo hizi vitu zote ambazo unaona wanafanya ni kwa sababu they want to cover up, they are washing their cloth, lakini wanaona nguo zao zinaendelea kuwa chafu. You see, just the way you can take a piece of cloth, you are washing it, lakini wanasema you are washing it that linen, that detergent. So it's a government that is looking at the same problems, the same things that they lied their funds, and they were saying it is their competitors who caused it. Just the other day nimeona something ambayo sijui kama ni ukweli, lakini I think Bernard anatuambia ya kwamba the same minister sasa wa industrialization anasema atakuja kutoa hiyo mitumba kama umepata jawabu. Is that not what Raila said? It's the same thing that Raila said. Kwa hivyo hawa ni watu ambao wanatapatapa, hawa ni watu ambao wanaenda kuwa na shida nyingi sana, and at some point wataanza kutafuta ushauri. So where we are going, utaanza kuona wakiwa na a lot of commissions to look into this, commission to look into this, ndio kufunika mambo yao. Kwa hivyo mimi sijatosheka na appointments hizo. They are very tribal. We are seeing Moi resurrect. We are seeing resurrection of regime ile ambayo ilikuanga zamani, where you can always be sure ya kwamba ukienda kwa ofisi fulani utapata mkubwa ni that tribe. Ukienda pale, yani ilikuwa inatokeanga juu mpaka chini. And we thank God for the 2002 at least ilikuja ikaanza kuondoa, wengine wanakufa. So mimi sitaki kuongea mengi, lakini this is a very dangerous government. This is a person, and in fact pale juu, these are people who are very careful. Yani wakati uko kwa ofisi, you are very careful, you are looking through the window, you are looking on your phone who is calling. Hawa ni watu ambao wamejaa uoga wa ajabu. Mwanamke akiingia unashangaa huyu ametumwa ama nini, hata kama ni mtoto wako you wonder amebeba nini. These are very very fearful people, and I can tell you, ukiona boss ambaye hafuati merit kuchagua wafanyikazi ambao every office iko na imespell out merit qualifications za mtu, hapo unajua hapa sasa it is greed, it is fear that is ruling. Wacha niwachie hapo, but I'm a very dissatisfied person, but I'm also optimistic that one day freedom itakuja.
Thank you, Bernard. We appreciate and to share into that, and we look forward for that freedom. And I believe this is the time to cause that to happen, because we can't take this sitting down anymore. Because we have a country to take care of, we have a future to safeguard. We cannot repeat what has held us hostage and expect that it will just sort itself out. I believe this is the time for Kenyans to step up and agitate for what is really Kenya. Hii story ingine ya kudanganyana sioni ikitusaidia. Mike, you have nini? You're on the laptop. Ebu confirm you're on the laptop with me. Yes, Mike, unmute, talk to me.
I'm on the laptop.
Yes. Now, you go to the settings, click on the settings,
Yeah.
and then virtual background.
Unataka nitoe virtual background?
No, don't remove. Just follow my instruction. I will lead you where to go.
Okay.
Okay. On the virtual background, there is a place for fade.
Okay.
Don't take it beyond 40.
Okay.
Yes. 37, 38, thereabout or less. It will give you good outlook. You must reduce it further.
Okay.
Even 33.
What I'll do, I will
Yes.
do away with the virtual.
Just do away with it, because it is
Yeah.
missing you, and it probably
It's
have
very blurred. I agree with
limited
you.
light.
Yes, I agree with you.
It's because you don't have a green screen. You are
That's
using
true.
the other screen.
That's
All
true,
the
Ben.
same, thank you, Asante. Just hold on now. We listen from our sister Christine, and then we'll come to you. My own sister, how are you?
Hi, Bernard. Long time. How are you?
Long time. Why has thou forsaken me?
Just frustration, all corners, Bernard, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes you decide, let me just watch from the background. But before I continue, I just want to say hi to everybody in the studio. I want to say hi to you, Bernard, another Bernard Wekesa, Chaka, Mike. And I want to say hi to my friends in the keyboard that we normally chat together: Orinda, Black, Richard, Gitonga, Rapemo, Fortune, yeah, and everybody else in the chat section. So I just came here just wanione uso, wamekuwa kiuliza Adika ingia studio. So I said, let them see my face, wasidhani you know, things are happening in a bad way. Of course, we are still hurting. But what I normally tell people, like, for how long, you know? I've just seen the PS appointments today, Bernard, and you forgot to say, because I saw on Twitter, your man, Boni Kalwale, was praising himself that we were mocking him that he's been washing utensils in the kitchen. but he has brought back a lot, 2 cabinet secretary, and I think 5 PSs. Namamba, Nakumicha, and a couple 5 PSs. So I think Luyas too, you are somewhere, Bernard. Sisi Wajaluo ndio tumerushwa nje kabisa. But all in all, I think I still need Baba to be silent about what is happening, because if he moves to give us direction early, we will not see all this. So Kenyans are watching and Kenyans are judging. So whatever instruction comes, I think this time, Bernard, people will be loyal, and all of us will pour ourselves in the street to the point that they won't know who to shoot and who not to shoot, you know? It is just unfortunate. The same old faces. Like for me, I was just surprised with this Kipsang Belio, you know? Sometimes I tend to feel this man has eaten in all governments. Bernard, like, I've been checking him as a disabled because I know he has eye problem. But even if we group him in the disability section, but is he the only disabled man that can serve in the government, you know? He's been there for so long. So me, all I can say, Bernard, it's just unfortunate. It's not yet freedom for all of us. And I think it's high time, just like Raila said, if no services are gonna be given to some of us, we are not gonna remit taxes to the government, you know? We'd rather give county government taxes if that is what will serve us right, because regardless of who is the president, I think campaign period is over. It's time to serve Kenyans and to serve all Kenyans, regardless of who or who did not vote for you, because all Kenyans are paying taxes. From history, I don't think Kalenjins, I don't want to despise Kalenjins per se, but Kalenjins are not good performers. There's nothing we can say there's nothing that I can account or say with confidence that a Kalenjin was in this ministry and it went well and we can remember all this. For all heaven's sake, I know Matiang'i is a Kisii and Makoha is a Luo, and those are the 2 ministers that everybody was saying that they should be retained. But at this point, Bernard, I think it's only we sit and wait we sit and watch as we wait for direction from Baba, because I'm the one who has been advocating for no going on the streets. But at this point, we just have to go and claim what rightfully belongs to us. It's not fair. 2 communities cannot keep ruling the country for how long? 2 communities cannot keep getting all government cakes for how long? And it's not like other communities. We don't have children that we pay fees to and they go to school, you know? And it is just sad, Bernard, because right now in Kenya, you'll be given job as per your last name, you know? So if your last name belongs to a certain community, you're not gonna get a job. And I don't think it's fair. We are all paying fees. It's expensive for all of us. We are all tammacking. So I think there should be fair distribution, regardless. The other communities too, I think there are people that are learned, minority not represented. But at this point, Bernard, all I can say, let's sit and watch. It is so sad to see our country being ruined. Yeah, so that's all I can say. For me, I'm waiting for Raila's direction. That's all I'm waiting for.
Okay, thank you, Sister Christine. We appreciate that, and we are all there. We must make Kenya better, and to make Kenya better is reject what is not right. My response on Halwale is a sick person, like his name is, and he doesn't represent the Luya community and the Luyalism. The Luya community historically is known to be a fighter for Kenya, for all Kenyans. It's never about how many slots we got. Has every one of our brothers gotten a slot? That has been our political position all along. And that has also been the reason why we have not gotten the president so far, because we are fighting for Kenya and we've always been on the front line doing that. So Wale is telling us he has been washing utensils in the kitchen. He has brought back a bad spirit from that kitchen that he wants to infect the rest of the Luyas to go for selfish push in government other than pushing for a better Kenya. And that is unacceptable. What he has brought back, which slot to who is going to benefit from whatever he has brought back? He should be thanking the Luya people for allowing him to be the senator of Kakamega, even when he was rejected at all points. He had to play his cards very keenly and play wherever Azimio and not UDA in order to get that slot. He situdanganye na sisi tunajua kula anakotoka, and he's pushing a narrative so that nobody will protest against the evil that is being portrayed by these appointments that don't show the face of Kenya. And we will not take that lightly. We need a country, just like we choose the players for Harambee Stars. We go for competence. We look for which are the best players to be on team. How do you go to choose a cabinet from one section and you tell us that section is the one that has the best? Looking across around the country, whatever Dr. William Ruto has constituted as a cabinet, it does not represent the face of Kenya, and it is not a replica or a representation of competence. It is a cabinet of convenience, and that pains the rest of Kenyans that are yet to heal from the electoral injustice that was vented on them by Jebkati and Kome and team. And for that, we need to tell each other the truth. Tuache kudanganyana. Kama Kenya ni ya watu wawili, basi tuachia watu wawili, si wengine tujipange na Kenya yetu. Even if they want the name Kenya, we can give it to them. We can always find a name. Every community has a naming ceremony for their children, so they don't need to borrow a name from any community. It is important that we begin to tell each other the truth. We can't have second-class citizens in this country. We need to have all of us either treated the same in the eyes of the Constitution or be left alone. Well, I'll play 2 quick videos before Mike comes in to make a contribution just to spice up the conversation. And if you're able to get us, please don't watch alone. Invite somebody to join into the discourse. One more time, we are not able to stream live on Facebook in the meantime. So those of you who follow us on Facebook, please make sure that you join into the discourse on YouTube. YouTube is where you will be able to follow through the discussion. LinkedIn, we are also live on LinkedIn. We are live on Twitter, but Twitter and LinkedIn will drop along the way, even as we proceed with YouTube. So the best place to follow this conversation to its final conclusion is YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so that you don't miss out on any of our many broadcast avenues. Let's listen to this as a reminder, and then we move forward.
Tuliambiwa hapa Mturuki mmoja alikuja Kenya na adipia akatwanga simu banki ya Equity, akapewa 15 billion, akaenda kuinvest Uganda. Investor huja na chake, huyo alikuwa investor masikini, ankuja Kenya hana senti, ni mlala hoi, akapewa senti zetu hapa Kenya, akainvest Uganda. Wakuu wa Equity wameitwa kwenye kamati ya bunge, wamekataa kwamba wao hawakupigiwa simu na hawakutoa pesa. Sasa alitoa pesa toka wapi? Baba, ukiingia huyu mtu atue nani? La mwisho, huyu mzee hana ukabila. Raila hana ukabila. Tawapa mfano, tunawakumbusha tu fadhakir kwamba cabinet ya mwanzo iliyoundwa Kenya baina ya Uhuru Kenyatta na Ruto. Sikizeni, cabinet ya Uhuru ilikuwaje na ya Ruto akikabili ilikuwaje? Uhuru alimchagua Fred Matiang'i ICT toa Kisii, James Macharia wa Inaina Mkikuyu health, Amina Mohamed siku zile foreign affairs Msomali, Aden Mohamed nationalization Msomali, Aneguru devolution Kikuyu, Rachel Omamo defense Luo, Michael Kamau transport Kikuyu, Jacob Kaimenyi education Meru, Judy Wahungu environment Luya, Hassan Wario sports Borana, Najib Balala mining Swahili, Charity Ngilu Lanzi Kamba, Joseph Olelenku interior Masai, Dan Kazungu mining Mgiriama. Hatusikize Ruto kabineti yake. Uhuru akamwambia haya tumeunda serikali, haya mwenzangu na leta majina yako. Sikiza kimbunga hicho. Henry Kerotich treasurer Kalenjin, Davis Chirchir energy Kalenjin, Phyllis Shepkosgei East African Corporation Kalenjin, Felix Kosgei agriculture Kalenjin, halafu akatoka Farida Karoni Kalenjin, Charles Kateri Kalenjin, Simon Chelugui Kalenjin, Willy Betty Kalenjin. Umesikia mtu wa pwani hapa? Kuna Mbajuni hapa, Mpokomo, Mtaita, Mijikenda, Mwarabu, Mswahili, Makonde, Jaluo, Kikuyu, Mkisii, Meru. This man hajawa rais ukabila ni huu. Akikaa itakuwaje? Ndio nasema hapa. Mwenyezi Mungu anasema kwenye Qur'ani, inna Allaha la yughayyiru ma biqaumi hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Mwenyezi Mungu hageuzi mambo ya watu mpaka watu wenyewe wabadilike nafsini mwao. Kama nyinyi mwataka kesho muone hii Kenya ni kabila moja peke yake, chagua Ruto. Lakini ukitaka usawa kabisa, huyu mzee huyu hana ukabila. Huyu mzee hana ukabila, hana hasira, hana chuki. Kwa hayo mengi machache, nataka nimuulize Yesu swali. Yesu, tumchague huyu kwa sababu ya ukweli ama tumkatae? Yohana 8:32. Yohana 8:32. Yesu anasema, itafuteni haki na ukweli, maana mkijua kweli taweka huru. Na Qur'ani 33:70 Allah akasema, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. Mlioamini semeni kweli na mcheni Mungu na semeni maneno ya ukweli. Ukweli kabisa. Rais anayefaa kukaa kitini Kenya nzima kwa sasa ni huyu mzee hapa.
Okay, thank you everyone. We appreciate your continued support and followership of Mtembei TV. Let's keep the conversation going. Please keep inviting somebody to join into this course. Let's listen from mzee Mike. Habari ya mzee?
Salama Bernard, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Karibu.
Thank you. You know, Bernard, the clip you have played has preempted part of what I wanted to share. You see, I wonder why people are surprised by the action of our new president, Ruto, because all along we've known him to be tribal, very, very tribal. And that clip has just confirmed what he did when he had a chance to name half a cabinet. Now he has a chance to name a full cabinet. And he has just replicated what he did in the last term. He has somebody who is equally very, very aggressive in the name of Rigathi. And that's why you see that 13, almost equal share of slots, because Rigathi is turning up to be a very, very aggressive person in a very raw way. You cannot take him lightly, and that is also going to help us as a country, because they are not reading from the same script. They seem to be looking at things differently. But the framers of the Constitution, Bernard, had anticipated such a situation where you would have a dictator or a tribal person at the helm of office, and then the Constitution would maybe help check that excess where you are overly tribal or overly dictatorial by making sure that clauses like regional balance were put in so that it is not an idea or a thought, it is a requirement that when making appointments, you have to fulfill that requirement because of the experiences we had from our forefathers, our founders of the nation, who would almost pick 99% of the tribesmen, if not village mates, or if not cousins, as their key person in government. But there's the very, very same person who was making very eloquent statements that this government is going to be ruled by the rule of law is actually trampling on the same rule of law that required him to meet the, first of all, the 50% slot he promised us on women has not been fulfilled. So people were thinking that it will be compensated in the slots of the PS. Those who were dreaming were their dreams have been scattered. That was not going to happen. They should separate facts from politics. And Ruto is a good politician, but he's not a honest person. So we are in a situation where, Bernard, I would say, we are going towards birthing the nation. And I'm still of the view that we should wait until the 9 months are due for us to get the delivery. Asking for me, I wouldn't want to go to the street. Let the child get to full term. Let it be darkest before dawn, because until it happens that way, it will be premature. Not premature, whatever, but premature. It will be premature for us to come out and start making noise because we are yet to see other things, Bernard. And coming out now, you will stall the other things that we are yet to see, because I can tell you there are very many other ugly things that will unfold in the next 6 months out of these activities. And let us have a full menu of that so that when we start reacting, we don't react on only one thing. Because the argument, somebody will say it is merit and not tribe. We can have 100, we can have the whole cabinet full of Kikuyus, but as long as they merit, as long as they're able to serve the country. So let us allow all those other things to happen, Bernard. Let us fatten the pig before slaughter, so that other pigs that look like they're dying, they think they've been ignored, and the pig that is being given all the food, thinking it is favored, it is actually the one that is next on the slaughter line. So let us allow that to happen, Bernard. I'm still of the view that it is too early for us to start demanding Raila to come out and give direction. Which direction will he give? And I want us to be very practical, my brothers and sisters. You cannot tell people not to pay tax. Civil servants and public servants cannot have no way of stopping to pay tax. You cannot stop us from buying milk. We tried that and life went on. Let us be very, very practical in a way we want to act, so that when we act, it creates impact. Because it will be laughable for us to come up with ideas that cannot create impact. If you told me for us to overthrow the government, then I would do that, because then tomorrow we shall have another government. But now we are not asking for that. We are asking for a civil way of getting change. And that civil way has to be one that will have the experience of everybody agreeing that we cannot live in this country and allow this country to be run the way it's being run. So we are not asking for things that are not legal or practical. We are saying let's wait and get the very practical things. And the practical things will be for people, every Kenyan, a Kikuyu, a Luo, a Kalenjin, who thinks they are being favored because they have their tribesmen in the office, to feel the pain of bad governance. And then all of us will work in one accord. But now there are people who still think that their bread is buttered and others are suffering. Let us all get to a place where we shall all agree that this is not right. And that is the time where we shall get the change we want. And it will be so instant, Bernard. It will be so instant and quick. It will be quick coffee. We shall not even need an election. We shall just need a revolution that turns things upside down in a very instant way. Thank you, Bernard. I hope I've not gone out of my way.
No, you're good. You're good. Thank you very much for that. We, there's some what are they called? Troublesome pregnancies that needs to be closely monitored. If you wait for their full term, you may lose the child. So some of this needs to be reduced so that we save the life of the child. Waiting for full term, we may lose everything. Now, if the daybreak looks like this, what is going to happen to the sunset? There will be nothing left to salvage. We may need to go back to the drawing board and be able to, start from the scratch. What I would want Kenyans not to lose is their belief in Kenya. Don't lose your belief and your faith in Kenya. We can still have a Kenya where all Kenyans are Kenyans by right and not by some kind of favor being done by specific government officials or governance people. A Kenya where we are safe, just like we select our athletic team to go to compete in the Olympics and the other world marathon and all that. We pick the best of the best to go and play on the world platform. Why do we, when it comes to looking for the ministers and cabinet secretaries and permanent secretaries, we resort into safeguarding our backyard at the expense of the performance of the country? That is my dilemma. Where do we lose sense? Is it because we don't want the country to move forward, or we just want to play lazy? Because it doesn't make sense. The country right now is in a bad shape. The country right now needs critical care. This is not the time to aggravate wounds. This is not the time to look for revenge. This is not the time to show kwamba I will do whatever I want to do. And not at this juncture when the country is in a bad shape, the economy is in a bad shape, people are in pain, and then you aggravate their pain by showing them that you can do whatever you want to, and the rest of the country has nothing it can do against you. To me, that is bad. It's very bad. It's very insensitive, and it needs to end by this. And so Kenyans, siku njema huonekana asubuhi. Hii yetu inakaa iko na shida, hata mkijipatia moyo sioni ikitoboa. Okay, let's quickly listen to this and then we bring in Mzee Guru atuelekeze.
Amemkashifu mkurugenzi wa mashtaka ya umma Nurdin Haji kwa kuondoa baadhi ya kesi za uhalifu zilizokuwa mahakamani. Katika mahojiano na kituo cha redio cha Spice FM mapema hii leo, Karua amesema kuondolewa kwa kesi hizo kumechochewa kisiasa. Kiongozi huyo wa NARC Kenya akielezea kwamba hafahamu ni kwa nini kesi zinazoondolewa ni zile za watu walio karibu sana na Rais William Ruto, wakiwemo mawaziri. Aidha amehoji kauli ya Haji kwamba alilazimishwa kuchukua baadhi ya mawaziri, akidai kwamba iwapo madai yake ni ya kweli anastahili kujiuzulu.
For any administration to have two officers at that level who are at complete loggerheads, because what it means is the public who suffer. So the moment the disagreement between the DCI and DPP reached a higher threshold, it ought to have been resolved by the authorities, because the office you can resolve is the DCI, not the DPP, because that is constitutional, unless if he was going out, you know.
In which case you can institute proceedings to get him out of office.
If there is any reason.
Okay.
And you resolve it not just by throwing people out, it's also by bringing them together. I cannot pretend to know what happened. I was not a member of government. But I was a member of government when the DCI once again completely disagreed with the commissioner of police at that time. But it was not a public spat like this one between Haji and Kinoti. So we never got to know. So during the 207 clashes, the two men were not talking. And therefore, communicating and acting in public interest was difficult. And that tells you why some of the things went south. I was a member of government. I came to know about it later. I would have been able to advise my boss then that you can't have the two. You will have to decide on one. See?
Yeah.
You cannot have an IG, a DCI who do not agree. Similarly, because of prosecutions, even Kinoti had people go to court to stop him from being able to prosecute, to stop the police from prosecuting. So Haji is crying, but I'm sure Kinoti has a story too. So the authorities, which included William Ruto as the deputy president, ought to have resolved that. What we have is not a new administration. It's new in the sense that the top is now occupied by the former deputy. Therefore, it's not an entirely new administration where people can completely wash hands. We paid you salary as deputy president. You're part of this mess. Do something about it, but do remember that everything you do, it's in the name of the people of Kenya, not in the name of your friends. So let this be resolved in a manner that takes care of the main stakeholder in this republic, which is the people of Kenya, represented there by the complainants.
Mheshimiwa, naysayers and people who subscribe to conspiracy theory would say that there are those in the political space who thrive in this very same thing we're saying, where people who are charged with a very serious mandate are at loggerheads. That confusion is allowed to continue because it serves their purpose.
Indeed. And that confusion, the buck stops at the presidency. And the presidency, by dint of our constitution, is two people. That's where the buck stops. And even in the presidency or in the governor's office, where you have a deputy, if you stay up to the end, you have no right. You lose the ground to be able to point fingers. Because if it became untenable, you had the options. You didn't take them. So you are part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mambo ni kama hayo. Tunashukuru wote mnaojumuika nasi katika Mtembei TV tunapoangazia the Rift Valley and Central. Shamelessly takes the lion's share in the cabinet. The rest of Kenya is left out in the cold. President Dr. RUTO'S defining moment. Kenya for all Kenyans. Not yet Uhuru. Mr. Guru, vipi?
Yes, how are you?
Niko salama, namna gani uko?
Niko salama pia. Naona vile Kenya inaendelea.
Dereva wetu na makaka wote.
You know, Bernard, one of the things that people have not understood is that the document called Vision 2030, which whose objective is to propel Kenya into a medium-level economy by the year 2030, has 3 pillars. And one of the pillars is politics that is issue-based. and that fosters inclusivity and a sense of nationalism. While we have done very well in other pillars of economics and social, we are yet to get the right formula for our politics. And the reason is because our politicians are very selfish human beings, and most of them do not look at the country as an entity that requires to perpetuate itself in harmony. What is happening right now is not new. It's only that these are the bad manners that should have been left behind as we renew our society. And perhaps one of the things that we failed to fix properly when we did the 2010 Constitution was how to conduct our politics. You are aware that there were two contending positions, that of pure presidential, parliamentary, and there are those who are for the mixture of the two. The truth of the matter right now is that the system that we have right now, the political system we have right now, does not seem to answer to our needs in terms of fostering national unity and inclusivity. That's why a president will shamelessly find talent in only two communities simply because they voted for him. Rightly or wrongly, these communities, there is nothing special about them, but the fact that they have more numbers in terms of bringing forth children. And therefore, this is a time that perhaps Kenyans should start thinking much more deeply about the nation state that is Kenya. Because when you look at what has happened today, you wonder how sustainable this way of conducting politics can be when you leave out huge chunks of the Kenyan population from the center of managing the... There's an echo. Somebody is not muted. So I was saying, when you look at what has happened today, it is a shame that talent can only be found in two communities. And worse is that we are supposed to balance even the gender. And what we have today is not a third of the appointees. And then there is the issue of the disabled. I don't know whether there is a disabled in that mixture. Therefore, we are very far from coming up with a political system that fits the Kenyan society. Bernard, I think the societies develop when they drop pretenses and accept who they are. And it is not unique to Kenya only. In countries that are severely ethnically divided, they come up with a formula or how to manage themselves in such a way that the formula brings harmony and fosters unity in diversity. That is what we are lacking in Kenya. And at one time, Raila Amolo Odinga suggested that we should have a parliamentary system of government. And I think from what I see happening, this could be the time for Kenyans to ask themselves how sustainable it is to play politics in the manner that we do, where one or two communities can come together, gang up, and roll it over other communities, regardless of their feelings. I think if we are truly Kenyans and would want to live a legacy of peace, peaceful coexistence, respect for each other, and that we would want our children to go and thrive in whatever part of the country, then we have no option but look for a system that makes that child in Teso feel to have equal rights with that child in Kangema constituency, or in Wajir, or somewhere in the coast province. Because the truth be said, we may bury our hands here, but the truth of the matter is that there is no time. Ateso at this time can think of becoming president in Kenya, or even a Kuria, or even a Maasai, perhaps even the Somali. They even will not dare to try that seat, not because they are not qualified, but the manner in which we are playing our politics does not give them an opportunity. And then once the elections are won by whichever party, even in positions where appointments would come in to balance out the equation and foster national unity, they are excluded. What do you expect those people to feel? What do you expect them to think? I still believe that we still have underutilized very many professionals in this country coming from specific communities, simply because the political parties that they fought for have not been able to ascend to power. A very sad situation indeed, because a nation develops by using all its talents, the best that they can get. That's how countries develop, by using the brains of their citizens, regardless of the ethnic and gender, religion, or whatever orientation, as long as they are within the law and the constitution. Today, we cannot say that we have been generous enough to use the talents that are found in parts of this country. Look at the Kalenjin community. It has brought national pride in terms of athletics. They are unrivaled. And it's a talent that resides in that community. And others also have their talents here and there. But because of the manner in which we play our politics, we've not been able to utilize these talents for the good of the nation. When you have out of 42 principal secretaries, 2 communities getting half of the positions, then there is a problem there. There is a problem because it means we will never discover what Ateso would do if he was given an opportunity to be the CS for water or for ICT or for whatever it is. We would never know so many things. Basically what I'm saying is that we've not gotten it right. Those who are in power right now, maybe the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin may feel excited that many of their sons and daughters have, placements in CSs and the PSs, but this is just a temporary excitement. As long as the other Kenyans may not feel comfortable, then there's a problem there. There's a problem because they will beat their time. And if the system continues that way, nothing happens in perpetuity. They may have their time also to hit hard. And history has shown that things can turn the other way. Look at what is happening in Ethiopia. The Tigray have lorded over the Pokomo for so many years. The other day, Pokomo, or I don't know, other tribe takes over power, and now they are even fighting and bringing a lot of chaos because because they feel like they are being excluded. So, anybody excited about what is happening today in our country is not living in reality of what a nation state, especially a modern one, should be. Asante Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Guru. We appreciate that. Now, we must redefine Kenya, and we must be able to salvage this country, put it back on track, because we cannot continue in this manner. Because one of the things that make this country not take off is ignoring or even terminating the best brains that we have. Okay, we go to the IBC, we find Msando is an expert. He's able to make sure that there will be free, fair elections. We terminate him so that we can go on with our mediocrity and be able to get our election won without the people deciding. That shouldn't be. We have sacrificed and gotten rid of great brains in this country. Talk of Tomboya, talk of Robert Huko, talk of all the brains that would have propelled this country into the first world within the shortest time possible. Instead of us making use of those brains, what do? We blow them up so that we can continue in our mediocrity. And then we extend our balls of begging the rest of the world to support us. Famine, after famine is drought. After famine, it's floods. After floods, it's famine. After this, food that's food that. I think a time has come for us to break forth. A time has come to break forth. As Kenyans, we either get our country, get our act together, and once and for all bury this madness, or continue with this nightmare. Because I don't see how we're going to progress with this ignoring. Mr. Guru talked about athletics. We don't, when we're in the athletic field, we are selecting our whatever Olympic team, whatever world cross country team. Nobody comes to talk about my tribe did not go there. It is that these people competent? Are they able to deliver? And that is the team we send, and they come back with medals. Now, mukitafuta secretary, mnatafuta semi-literate people who attended school through the window, and then you still want the country to move from the whole way it is. Come on, Kenyans. Let's get serious for once. And the president and his selections or his appointments, he needs to be told the truth. This is not the Kenya we want. Not at this point in time. When the world is talking about artificial intelligence and we are putting mediocrity in office, hoping that some miracle will take place and we'll get out of the hole where we are. Come on. Let's tell each other the truth. Hii mchezo imechezwa miaka mingi, lazima ikome. na tutaikomesha kama itaki kukoma yenyewe. Naomba tusikilize hii video kidogo, alafu tumlete mzee wetu Bwana Wangira atuelekeze kwa masuala haya. Hiyo masuala ya let's get this one and then we'll listen to the president later on.
Nonsense in Kenya, or at least we need a minister of common sense in Kenya, or at least we just need critical thinking. You know, some of these politicians, Kenyan politicians, they have their PhD, they have their masters, they are people who have gone to school, they have learned, and they still lack critical thinking. That is what I'm struggling to understand, because if life is becoming unbearable, if life is becoming expensive in Kenya, and that we are not able to afford the basics like maize, you know, and all these gas prices have escalated, and we do not have the subsidy to regulate the prices, at least the common mananchi to afford. Why can't we as a government cut down on expenditures? Like, for example, most county governments, they drive on Land Cruisers, V8 engine, V6 engines. Those ones consume a lot of gas. Why can't we buy Probox to run government affairs? And maybe if it's the Land Cruisers, we only leave it for the super dry areas like Pokot and Trukan and all those kind of places, so that we save on cash that would be spent on maintaining those cars and just buying gas in general. You see, that is one of the ways you can cut down costs. Another thing is that Kenyan politicians are earning so much money. Why would a politician earn over $500,000 per month, yet the common mwananchi is surviving in the less than 30,000 per month? Doesn't make sense. Because if you are the servant, if you're the one who has been put in a position to serve your country, you should live like a servant. Actually, you should be, first of all, patriotic enough to understand that it's not about you. It's not about you driving the most luxurious car. It's about that mwananchi who is struggling, who is pushing the mkokoteni. You are mandated to make his life better. But that is not the case. A politician lives a lavish lifestyle whereby you see them driving all these fancy cars. For example, I saw during the time that they were trying to recruit the new CS, and it was very shocking that you see everyone was claiming, I am only worth 800 million, I'm worth 4 billion, and that is just what they're saying. And of course, you know, it's more than that. All of them, they're billionaires. And the question is, would they still vie for that position if the salary was only 50,000 or 100,000? Probably they would not. So everyone there is going for his own stomach. And you see, if we would cut down those salaries, I believe that Kenyans, this country can grow very fast. We don't need to take any loans, because that cash would be super enough.
Enough said. Let's get to Mr. Wangira. How are you, Mr. Wangira?
Oh, I'm doing very fine, Bernard. How are you?
I'm well. Karibu.
How is everybody in the studio today? Okay, let me just make my contribution, Bernard. You know, in this country, we want to behave like that ostrich that always buries its head in the sand, Bernard. Next year, it will be 60 years after we got our independence on the 12th of December, 1963. That's when we became a republic. So next year, it will be 60 years after we became a republic, Bernard. We know that in the last 60 years, we have been led by presidents who have come from two communities, that are Kikuyu community and the Kalenjin community. And you know, that's not the real issue here, because you know, as a country, you can always only have one president at a time. But you know, what really matters is how a president exercises his powers, what we call executive powers, as the president of the republic, because a president, according to the Constitution of Kenya, is a symbol of national unity. So anything that the president does, must promote the unity of the nation. Bernard. I grew up as a son of a civil servant who was a fairly senior civil servant. When my father enlisted in public service during the Muzungu time, the Muzungu promoted my father because my father was constable when he was enlisted, and he rose from constable to chief inspector of police in 1963. Because my father was enlisted, he was enlisted in 1945. Between 1945 and 1963, he was chief inspector of police. That was a period of around 16 years. But when we got independence, my father only got 2 promotions. He became superintendent, then he became senior superintendent of police. And after that, he could not get any other promotion. Then I wanted to research why my father did not get promoted as fast during our independence time as he got promoted during the Muzungu's time. I really wanted to know, because from constable to corporal to sergeant to senior sergeant to what they used to call African Inspector 1 to African Inspector 2 to Chief Inspector, those were around 7 steps in promotion. And when we got independence, he only got 2 promotions and then he retired. So I really wanted to know actually what was the issue. And I discovered that the issue could have been because he came from a small community. We are called Luyas, yes, but we the Banyalas of Busia, we are a very small community. In fact, we are less than 100,000 in population. All some will be called Luyas, but when we talk of those houses, the sub-tribe, the Banyala of Busia, we are just like less than 100,000 today. And that's why even Budalagi as a constituency, is at a danger of going because of the number of population. We are less than 100,000. So I discovered that perhaps it is because he came from a small community. And when we promulgated the 2010 Constitution, this Constitution was supposed to have protected the bigger communities and the smaller communities alike. That was the essence of this particular Constitution that we promulgated on the 27th, I think, of August 2010. But they say that bad manners die hard. There are those bad manners that we have borrowed since 1964. After 1964, the president in this country became an imperial president. Where we used to determine, after 1964, every person who served in the public service of the Republic of Kenya used to serve at the pleasure of the president. So those people who served under Kenyatta and later on served under President Moi and also served under President Kibaki up to 2010 were serving at the pleasure of the president. That was the bad manners of that time, of those times. Then the president was also the provider of development. If you remember the issues around session of paper number 10, when we came, we developed a session of paper number 10, which was capitalistic in nature. And they said that they were only going to develop areas that, were viable. Those areas that were not viable, the government said that they would benefit from what they used to call trickle-down effect. That, we develop areas that are potential, and then the areas that are not potential, they develop from, they enjoy what they call the trickle-down effect. Bernard. So we have carried out of those bad manners, they say, new wine in an old wine skin. So we have a scenario in this country where we have a new wine, but unfortunately, what is carrying the wine is the old wineskin. That is the real problem in this country, Bernard. And it's so unfortunate, Bernard, that leaders that we have in this country are doing some things in a very shameful manner. And I use that word shameful, Bernard, because I am a citizen of this country. And when I feel that things are not going right, I just say as it is, so long as I'm not breaking any law. Bernard, the public service of the Republic of Kenya, Bernard, is governed under what we call Article 232 of the 2010 Constitution. This is Chapter 13, Public Service. And there's what we call values and principles of public service, Bernard. I'll not dwell so much on the cabinet secretaries, because cabinet secretaries are more like a political entity. But you know, permanent secretaries, what we call principal secretaries, are the technical unit of the government, because they are the real engine that runs the government. You know, they determine the policies. You know, they carry out the day-to-day of government ministries, Bernard. And that's why I am so much concerned about what really happened today. In the numbers that we have seen as nominated to become principal secretaries under President William Samoei Ruto's government. Bernard, if you go to what we call values and principles of public service under Article 232 of the Kenyan Constitution, you know, and you move down there up to what we call sub-article I, it says that the values and principles of public service include, then they say representation of Kenya's diverse communities. So the Kenyan diverse communities must be represented in the public service, Bernard. Then they say these communities, as diverse as they are, must be afforded adequate and equal opportunity for appointment, which means when it comes to appointment, you must afford every community in Kenya what they call adequate and equal opportunity. Then when it also comes to training, you must afford them what they call adequate and equal opportunity for training. And when they talk of advancement at all levels of the public service, you must afford them adequate and equal opportunity. And the people you are affording these opportunities are men and women, members of all ethnic groups, and persons with disabilities, you know. So the Constitution of Kenya recognizes that we have diverse communities, and we have also diverse group of people. And that's why, you know, they are being protected when it comes to appointing people into public service. But what are we seeing today, Bernard? We are seeing a scenario where, you know, what Raila calls kwamba you take the majority, you know, like what they say kwamba you are eating on a table, and you know, you are eating the best of the meal. But when perhaps a cat comes under the table, you know, you throw to the cat something small so that, you know, you can distract it. You know, it looks as if we are in such a scenario, because if you find Mount Kenya, the community where our deputy president comes from, taking 10 positions of permanent secretaries, and the community where our president comes from, taking 12 positions of the principal secretaries, then, you know, Bernard, something is not right here, because we are talking about 51 positions, and out of 51 positions, already 22 have been taken by 2 communities. What are you telling Kenyans? Because, you know, because we are a country of 44 communities, Bernard. You know, if we are to be fair, because I believe every community in this country has qualified people. From the largest community that are our brothers in Mount Kenya to the smallest community, which is perhaps the Indian community that, you know, became part of our community the other day. You know, they have qualified people. So, you know, for fair representation, you would perhaps say, let us provide a position each for every Kenyan community, so that they feel inclusive. And for the remaining 9, we can share among us the real guys who really contributed towards the formation of this country government. But, you know, that's not what we are seeing. You know, we are seeing them taking everything, and just dropping a bit to the rest of Kenyan community. It does not look very good, Bernard. That's not a very, very good image, Bernard. I was just looking at the WACO draft that we threw away in 2005, because I spend most of my time doing research, as my area of interest. And I was wondering, because, the WACO draft, did not have the devolution as an aspect of it. It was talking about district councils, which were not autonomous, which did not have budgets, so I've just asked, I was asking myself the other day, if we made a mistake of passing this document that was called WACO draft, without that provision of devolution, the one that we have, we could have been in a worse situation, Bennett. Because today, luckily that even if you feel frustrated up there, you can smile that perhaps at the county of Busia, perhaps I have my people there, and perhaps I have a share of 15% that goes directly to my people. But if we had made that problem, that mistake of perhaps voting for the WACO draft, we could not today be talking of the county governments, and imagine where we don't have a county government in the form that we enjoy today, and where the government, the government at the national level behave the way it's behaving. Then where does it leave the majority of Kenyans? Those are the questions we should be asking, Bernard. It has reached a point that we must discuss this thing called Project Kenya. I remember when I was in the youth movement in 2009, after the quagmires of 2008, there's a big conference that was organized by the government of President Mwai Kibaki, and I was part of the invitees in that conference. It was at the KICC. And the conference was called The Kenya We Want. So in that conference, we were discussing the Kenya we want. Then I think it has come to a point that we need to rethink about convening a similar conference anywhere else. It could be at Bomas of Kenya. It could be at Kasarani Stadium. It could be at Nyayo Stadium. But we need to convene a conference called The Kenya We Want, so that we as the people of Kenya can discuss on how we want to take Kenya forward. Because, we cannot be pretending the way the president, the other say, they said when he was in Kitui that, he was happy that, the people of Mount Kenya helped to bury tribalism. No, you cannot, keeping your cake and at the same time eating it. If you believe that the people of Mount Kenya helped to bury tribalism on the 9th of August, then, be active on that particular front by ensuring that, your appointments, reflect the real face of Kenya. We don't want to see where things are being coated, sugar-coated in the manner that they are being, And that's why I'm saying that, we are just burying our heads in the sand, There are people who are frustrated, people who are not feeling good, when they see what is happening in this country. As much as, they cannot do anything better, but it's not a very good image, It is not how we want to continue as a country. We want to continue as a country where we feel as one, not where we feel that there are communities that are more important than others, Every community, however big or small, forms Kenya. There is a principle in international law called solvent equality. Solvent equality means that even if you have a bigger country like America, and you have another small country like Seychelles, but on the international map, especially at the UN, they enjoy same rights. America does not enjoy more rights than Seychelles, just because Seychelles is small and America is big. So we need to rethink about this issue of equality of communities in this country, whereby we treat every community as equal to the other, Bernard. And that's the only way we are going to kill tribalism in this country. But if we continue the way we are, after every 5 years, community will be competing against each other. Whichever communities win elections, they take the bulk of public appointments, Bernard. And let me tell you something about public appointment, Bernard. Today, I've just mentioned something called trickle-down effect. 2 weeks ago, our president appointed ministers, the ones we call CSS. Today, we have seen the nominees for principal secretaries being appointed. But there's something that is called trickle-down effect, even in public service. Because there's a big likelihood that a minister, as a cabinet secretary today, who is appointed, is likely to appoint the driver that will drive him is likely to come from his community. Perhaps the bodyguard that will take care of him is likely to come from his community. The personal assistant is likely to come from his community. So look at that particular trickle-down effect. And the same also applies to principal secretaries, whereby you find perhaps the personal assistant to a principal secretary comes from his community. So you find the bodyguard coming from his community, perhaps the secretary coming from his community. So, that gives an advantage to people who are enjoying a bigger slot in government than those who are not enjoying. So there is a real problem here. And we cannot continue burying our heads in the sand. As a republic, Bernard, because we are a republic, Kenya became a republic on the 12th of December 1963. As a republic, we need to discuss the Kenya we want. That's the best way. Devoid of our politicking, devoid of our political differences, we need to discuss the Kenya we want going forward. People are burying their heads in the sand, especially if your community, if you, like some of us who are in the Azimio largely, and perhaps, the other side won, we are likely to we are likely now just to keep quiet and bury our heads for the next 5 years, hoping that after 5 years, there will be another election and we will struggle to see whether our man will become president. And that's not the way we want to go. That's not the way we want to manage this country. We want the president of the Republic of Kenya to remain the symbol of national unity. Immediately you are sworn in as the president, you are now the symbol of national unity, whether you are standing in Bondo, which is in Siaya County, or somewhere in Madira in Nyeri County. You remain equally a symbol of national unity. And you can only be a symbol of national unity when there is fairness. Where there's no fairness, people will respect the constitution, people will respect the law, but down inside their, down inside their hearts, there will be something that will be eating them up, Bernard. Let me just leave it at that and allow somebody else to come in. Thank you.
Who is next? Cynthia.
Hi, thanks, Guru. I'm still trying to get the feel, the mood of this episode. So maybe I will not comment much, but just to respond to, and maybe for all of us, I think we should be honest with each other and recognize that it has been a culture that the person who becomes president rewards, quote unquote, people who supported him. And so that means we would be seeing an imbalance in who is appointed to these positions. So that what we have seen the president do today should not really be a shocker, because it has always happened like that. Even if whoever was president now, even if Raila was president, then we'd probably be talking about 20 Luos having been nominated to the positions of principal secretaries today. So we should be honest with ourselves And that probably happens because these are people who have stood and supported whoever becomes president. So it only then happens that they have to be rewarded, in quotes. So we need to be alive to that fact that it is nothing new. It has happened.
Cynthia.
Yes.
May I ask you?
Yes, please.
I heard UDA say that they had over 25% in, is it that 4 counties?
Mm-hmm.
Are you wanting to tell us that in all these counties where they got that at least 25% of voters, we assume that the elections were conducted fairly, that there are no people who can be found in those counties, which in most cases represent communities, to spread out the appointments?
I hear you. That's Guru. I hear you. So I was still making my point. We've had these discussions even with my colleagues the whole afternoon actually, and we are again. They say the cow is big, so it is still being slaughtered in pieces, and there are still many positions that are up for grabs. But my concern, moving forward, then my concern would be on the issue of the gender, the women. By the way, when we look at the tabulation of the in terms of tribes, we have seen apart from the Kikalenjin and the Kikuyus, we've had we have Luos, we have I think 3 Luos, we've had Luyas who are like 6, we have many Muslims like 7, we have Kambas, we have Embu. Yeah, and the cow is still big, so we will see how it pans out with the other positions. But I was talking about gender. That's where my concern is, because if we have 51 nominees for these positions, then I would have expected to see at least 17 women. I think there are 13. So I have an issue with that. Irrespective of where it is, which part of the country they come from, I would have then expected to see at least 17, even 20 women nominated for these positions. I've seen a tweet by the Law Society of Kenya that they want to go to court and challenge this. But shortly after that, the tweet was removed. So I don't know why they are retracting. Yeah, so we're seeing more women would have been, quite something for me, irrespective of whichever part of the country they come from. I would have loved to see at least 17 to 20 women in the cabinet, because that in the positions of the PS, because that was the promise of Kenya Kwanza. So yeah, let's wait and see how that plays out. Thank you.
Bernard, welcome back. But before you come in, let me first engage Shiro Kidogo. Said Shiro, don't you think you defeat yourself by saying that the women were not given possession, yet you justified that political leaders reward those who have voted for them? Is it that the women did not vote for this man? Number 2, are you trying to tell me that the reward can only be done to one of the communities? Or are you justifying that the current president was voted by only 1 or 2 communities? If you answer those questions, then we'll be on on the same understanding.
Okay, Guru, if you didn't hear me well, what I said, and I'll make it short as I repeat, that this should not come as a surprise to us. It has happened before that whoever comes into power rewards the people close to them. And I said, even if Raila was president, we'd probably be seeing 20 Luos who are nominated. It should not come as a surprise. It has happened before. Let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. It has happened before, and this should not be a surprise. As concerns the gender, then my position was that I am not happy that there are only 13, I think 13 women who are nominated for these positions. I would have wanted to see 17 to 20, because the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, that is what they said they would do. And I went ahead to say, for me, it would not matter where the women come from in Kenya, as long as the women are included. So I think my point, I've made my point. Thank you.
Okay, Cynthia, thank you for your submission. And I have this for you in terms of substantiating your claim. In defense for Raila Odinga and his appointments. Raila Odinga is not a new person in terms of government formation and government appointments. He was on the forefront of the NAC government. Can you compare the NAC government cabinet and current cabinet? He was part of the Grand Coalition cabinet, where he nominated people into cabinet. Compare for us the Grand Coalition cabinet and today's cabinet, and tell us that that is history repeating itself, and people are being rewarded for the choice of who their president was. In my opinion, this is a blatant impunity that is leveled against Kenyan people simply because they are meant to be rendered helpless and dance to the music of the current song, regardless of whether they support it or not.
Okay. All right. Did you want me to respond to that?
Yes, because if you're telling us that is normal, and that is if Raila was president, he would have chosen 20 laws, he should substantiate it when he was leading in 2002, informing the cabinet. Did he give 20 laws? When he was part of making cabinet in 2007, did he give to 20 laws? That is how you substantiate your claim. You don't just assume that because he's a Luo, he would give to Luos. When he has never done it in the past, what makes you think he can do it now?
Okay. Yes, Bernard. Thank you, Bernard. And it is as clear as day and night. When Uhuru became president in 2013, we can look at the trajectory of his numbers of appointees. And when Raila joined him in the handshake in 2017 or 18, we saw again, things changed. Now it was not just Kikuyus and a few Kalenjins, but a lot more of Luos were brought into the picture. And that's what I'm saying. It is not, we should be honest with ourselves, probably because during campaigns, we get people, somebody is telling me to go to bed, nimechoka. During campaigns, we get people who work around you. And we know that, it's been the trend that they are rewarded. So compare.
Are you avoiding to address the issue? Because the person you mentioned is not Uhuru Kenyatta. The person you mentioned was Raila Odinga. I've given you the historical positions that Raila held and his opportunity in naming cabinet. He has named cabinet before. Did you see the Luo face in his appointments in the past?
Just your mind and remember. So I have given you the example of Ruto Cabinet 2013 and compare it with the Ruto Cabinet when there was a handshake in 2017, 2018. Also, compare the cabinet of Ruto 2013 and the Grand Coalition of 2007, 2008. Then we saw a lot more of Luos in the cabinet. It's black and white. We don't even need to argue about this. Thank you.
I didn't make sense of what you say, but let Wangira maybe help us. Wangira?
Bernard, she's Shiro. She's Shiro.
She's Osiro. Cynthia Osiro.
Amaluo Osiro.
Okay. Two things, that I've picked from your narration here. You talk of reward. Then you talk of a cow. My understanding of government is that government can never be a cow. That's one area that I understand, that the government cannot be a cow. Then if we talk about rewarding, government is not about rewarding. My understanding of government is that government is about service delivery. And the reason why people demand for inclusivity in any government, people who are citizens of that nation, is because the inclusivity enables every person to be part and parcel of the running of the country, because a government is an engine of a nation. And that's why every person wants to be included in the running of the government. Just like in our armed forces, every community in this country is represented in the armed forces, so that when there is a need to defend this country, every community becomes part and parcel of defending this country. So government is not about rewarding. Government is not about a cow where you think that you are now sharing. Somebody is going away with the head, another one with the tail, another one with the skin. That's not government. That's not government. Government is about public service delivery. And when you want a proper public service delivery, where we have what we call high standard of professional ethics, where we have what we call efficiency, effectiveness, and economic use of resources, where we have the involvement of the people, then you need to involve everybody in that country. And this argument that you have to reward people who voted for you and blah blah blah. Let me tell you, in every corner of this country, including Sakwa, where Raila comes from, I believe there are few people who voted for the Kenya Kwanza government, and who voted for Kenya Kwanza government, just like perhaps in Sugoi, where our president comes from, there are people who voted for Raila Odinga. So even if it's about rewarding, in every corner of this country, you can get one or two people to reward in form of inclusivity. But unfortunately, we are used to the bad manners in this country, where tribalism has been key for the last 60 years. And a person comes on such a platform and he supports tribalism and telling us that even if it was Raila, he could have appointed 20 people from his community. Raila has been prime minister of this country, and you can go on the record of the people Raila Odinga appointed when he was prime minister of this country. Raila Odinga was prime minister, and there was what we call the National Accord and Reconciliation Act that allowed Raila to appoint one part of government and Kibaki to appoint the other part of government. Look at the list of the people Raila appointed and tell me whether all of them were from Bondo. Let us be realistic, Bernard. Let us not defend issues for the sake of just defending. Let us be realistic. Let us be real, because we want to develop this country. We want this country to move forward, Bernard. Let me just leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wangira. And I also want to emphasize one thing. The laws are not strangers in this country. Yeah, the stakeholders in this country are like any other Kenyan. That should not be seen as if when they get a cabinet slot is a favor. It isn't a favor. And when it comes to constituting a cabinet, is you constitute a team that you'll use to help the country move forward. It's not just rewarding somebody because he campaigned for you. Like I've said, Raila has no history of being tribal when it comes to appointments. He has broken record 2002 when he was part and parcel of the NAC coalition. Remember, the NAC coalition was National Alliance and the Raila, was it LDP? So the government was 50-50, although it wasn't put in the open, the memorandum of understanding. What kind of people did Raila choose in that cabinet? 2007, his part of the cabinet, it had the current president as Minister for Agriculture. It had Kulundu, my own MP, the late. We had everybody from everywhere in Kenya in that cabinet. That's the cabinet that brought in people like Kingi, the current speaker of the Senate, and all that. Now, we cannot pretend. When things go wrong, let's tell them they are going wrong so that we find a solution. But saying it is normal and it should be accepted, to me, it is looking for an excuse to accept mediocrity, which is going to enhance the running down of this great country. How much longer are we going to hold on when the country keeps spiraling down and down and down? Who's going to pick it so that it goes up again? Kenyans right now are demoralized. Majority are underperforming. They are reporting to office late and leaving early. Now, how do you encourage them to go and begin to work full blast so that the economy recovers by reminding them that they did not vote for you? Like there's a caption somebody has sent me where the deputy president Kashagwa says, you reap what you sow. And the people who voted for this government must eat fast. When they have done, it's when the rest of the country can be considered. Then how do you tell me that now it's normal and it should be taken? I don't so. So if we want to be part of a Kenya that is for all Kenyans, let's advocate for it. But if we want to remain with the mediocrity that has held the country hostage for as long as this country has been in existence from independence, then let's support the status quo, but also be prepared to remain within that space, which is controlled and unable to make us a first world, no matter how many years we are given. It doesn't matter how many years we're given. The moment we have wrong people in wrong places, we will always get wrong results. And we have laid the bed for the same, so let it remain there.
Now,
sorry, Cynthia, I think I've closed that. What is it?
I'm saying now you protect me because your people are abusing me on the chat.
Please, let's keep it civil. Please, let's keep it civil and support one another. But let's also let's keep respect, please. Watu wa comments, tafadhali relaxine. Sawa, tafadhali. Naomba. Let's watch the language, please. I don't want to begin to send people to quarantine or block everybody. For Cynthia, if you want to share, please share what is not what is acceptable, what is right. Okay, any Kenyan will support what is right, but when you begin to find a soft spot for what is wrong, you won't find it tightly here, because watu wanaumwa. Nakwambia tu kweli, watu wanaumwa, alafu wewe unataka kuongeza chumvi kwa kidonda, haiwezekani.
I'm not allowed to have my own opinion.
Okay, let me just sort that out. Cynthia, having your own opinion is not a crime, but upholding what is wrong is wrong. We are here to critically look at. There is a clip I played about Kenya needs a common sense minister for common sense, and the cry of the person is because we are not critically thinking. We are looking here as critical thinkers who want to look for what is bedeviling this country. But if you find a soft spot for what is bedeviling this country, that is not having a different opinion. Is looking to justify what's wrong, and nobody's going to support you in that. Not even me, because I can't. I can't stand anybody who supports what is wrong. From the president to the least person in this country. If you support Kenya for all Kenyans, we are here with you all the way. But if you support a divisive Kenya, a Kenya that has second-class citizens in this country, perpetuates people who can never be president because they are not from the right tribe, that is a Kenya I will never be part of. And I will fight it as long as I live. Because I want my children and my children's children to grow in a country where they can be president without bribing anybody, without begging anybody. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, everyone. Please, let's keep it civil. Thank you. And let's also not do assumptions about people. Historical facts are important for you to cite when you are making claims, not to ignore historical facts and then make claims that cannot hold water. Dunia ina mambo vipi?
Poa sana Bernard. Asante sana kunipea chance kama huyu. Asante sana kunipea chance kama bado madam wako hapa. Sababu nilikuwa na washwa huko nje sana. Lakini sasa nimeingia ndani. Habari zenu? Madam ameongea opinion yake, tuwezi kataa. Opinion yake pia ujue inaweza chukuliwa au inaweza tupuliwa mbali. Kulingana na dalili zote unatoa. So upande moja opinion yako iko right. Upande ingine opinion yako iko wrong. Kulingana na mimi. Kwa sababu kama cheo ni kama watu wameenda election, unagawa cheo kulingana na watu ambao wamekupigia kura au wale ambao ni loyal kwako au ambao ni rafiki zako. Bernard, nikiangalia jina yake msichana wetu au ni mama yetu au dada yetu hapa anatoka pale tunatoka sisi wote ambao naita Western Kenya. Ukiangalia Kenya ipata uhuru paka saa hii, ni kitu gani tunaweza vumulia sisi ni wa Kenya? Tuongee tu fact, hakuna kubembelezana hapa saa hii. Kwa sababu tuseme ukweli vile mtu na feel. Kitu gani tunaweza vumulia sisi ni wa Kenya? Tangu Kenya upate uhuru paka saa hii. Nothing. Ndio maana jana Bernard alisema akili ndogo inaongoza akili kubwa. Kitu ya pili, unasema umepewa kama mzee angechukua angefanya hivyo na hivyo na hivyo, huyu pia amefanya hivyo na hivyo. Hatukatai kama angefanya hivyo au angefanya hivyo. Swali ni hivi. Ukiangalia unajua kukigawa cheo kama wewe ni president Kenya au ni president ya dunia yote, lazima uangalie population ya people. Kwa sababu population ndio udosi, au population ndio tajiri. Wengi wenyu ndio tajiri. US iko tajiri kwa sababu wako wengi. China wako wengi kwa sababu wako wengi, wako tajiri kwa sababu wako wengi. India the same. Russia the same. Unaniget? Ukikuja Afrika pia, hizi makanti zingine wako wengi kwa sababu ya people. Wako rich kwa sababu ya people. Kwa sababu hao ndio nalipa ushuru. Sasa hebu niambie, hii government ya Kenya sahi wale cheo umepewa, kama example wa Somalia wamepewa cheo sana nyingi sana kama APS nini wako population hapo Kenya ni ngapi? Hata ufiki 10 million, wote isabiwa yote pea 20 million, wape 20 million. Haya Waluya wako population ngapi? Wajaluo wako population ngapi? So nani nalipa ushuru nyingi? Hatuwezi kubembelezana, hatuwezi bebana na hivi kwa kwa sababu unasema hivi, hata kama unapewa cheo wale mkupigia au unapewa watu, unajua lazima hata hizi position imewekwa ya polisi, jeshi, nini, hizi zote imewekwa ili watu ile tribal ile watu wako wengi wapase hizo position, ndio watu wao